Okay, we've done that. Now we started. Hare Krishna. Welcome once again, everybody, to our Srimad Bhagvatam session by His Grace, Jai Sri Mataji. Mataji is going to enlighten us from verse 16 of chapter 6 of Canto 7. Hare Krishna, Mataji. Dandavat pranams once again. Please take over the session.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Here we are again. So fortunate to have such a wonderful activity as Srimad Bhagvatam class. It's one of the things Prabhupada established. You know, we kind of take it for granted because we're so used to all these things going on. You know, the temple and Mangalarti and Bhagavatam class. But many, many years ago, there was no temples. We had a few little houses. We didn't have deities. We had a little picture. There was no books. We had, some things. Some of us had different, like where I was, Gorsendar had some of Prabhupada's books, and there was magazines, and Prabhupada's original Bhagavad Gita, which was a summarized Bhagavad Gita, not what we have now. But somehow or other, Prabhupada started establishing. That's what founder acharya means. He established all these base of things that we weren't familiar with, and just grew this society of ISKCON from the grassroots. Quite an amazing accomplishment. Gopi Janabhava Girivaradari Yasaranandana Gajaganaranda Yamuna Tira Radhari Jaya Radha Vihari Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Nitai Hari Bol, Nitai Hari Bol, Nitai Hari Bol, Jaya Prabhupada, Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parvajakacharya Strater Satyas Divine Grace. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parvajakacharya Strater Satyas Divine Grace, Srila Bhakti Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananti Korta Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai, Namacharya, Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Se Kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhaktavrindra Ki Jai. Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Shamakunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Shri Vrindavan Dham ki jai, Shri Navadvip Dham ki jai, Ganga Maya ki jai, Jamuna Maya ki jai, Bhakti Devi ki jai, Srimati Tulsi Devi ki jai, Samaveda Bhaktivinoda ki jai. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. If I can remind everyone to mute, that would be good. Thank you. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we're reading from the Srimad Bhagvatam, Canto 7, Chapter 6, text number 16. Shamagori, you want to do the Sanskrit? I'm sorry, not Shamagori. Anyway, my Sanskrit scholar, are you there? Samarasika. Hello, anyone there?
Hare Krishna Mataji. I think Mataji didn't unmute.
Sorry, Mataji. Yeah.
Oh,
I was on mute and I was singing, chanting.
sometimes like that.
Yeah,
Sometimes
now
I get
can hear it.
Yes.
Vidvanapitham danujaha kutumbam Ushnasnastlokaya na kalpate vai Yaha sviya parakya vibhinna bhava Stamaha prapadyeta yatha vimodaha. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much. I've been hearing recently how Sanskrit, when mispronounced, becomes a whole different word. So
Yes.
I don't want to be the one to mess it up. All right. So Vidvan, knowing the inconvenience of material existence, especially in household life. Api, although itam, thus. Danuja, O sons of demons. Kutumba, the family members or extended family members, like one's community, society, nation, or union of nations. Pusnan, providing with all the necessities of life. Swalokya, in understanding himself. Not. Kalpate, capable. Vai, indeed. Ya, he, who. Shaya, my own. Prakraya, belong to others. Vipina, separate. Bhava, having a conception of life. Tama, nothing but darkness. Pajate, enters. Yata, just as. Vimudha, a person without education or one who is like an animal. Translation. Oh, my friends, sons of demons, in this material world, even those who are apparently advanced in education have the propensity to consider this is mine and that is others. Thus, they are always engaged in providing the necessities of life to their families in the limited conception of family life, just like uneducated cats and dogs. They are unable to take the spiritual knowledge. Instead, they are bewildered and overcome by ignorance. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. In human society, there are attempts to educate the human being, but for the animal society, there is no such system, nor are animals able to be educated. Therefore, animals and unintelligent men are called vimudha, or ignorant, bewildered, whereas an educated person is called vidvan. The real vidvan is one who tries to understand his own position within the material world. For example, when Sanatana Goswami submitted to the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. His first question was, Ke ami kena amiya jaratapatraya. In other words, he wanted to know his constitutional position and why he was suffering from the threefold miseries of material existence. This is the process of education. If one does not ask, who am I? What is the goal of my life? But instead follows the same animal propensities as cats and dogs, what is the use of his education? As discussed in the previous verse, a living being is entrapped by his fruitive activities, exactly like a silkworm trapped in its own cocoon. Foolish persons are generally engaged in their fruitive actions, karma, because of a strong desire to enjoy this material world. Such attracted persons become involved in society, community, and nation, and waste their time not having profited from having obtained human form. Especially in this age, Kali Yuga, great leaders, politicians, philosophers, and scientists are engaged in foolish activities thinking, this is mine and this is yours. The scientists invent nuclear weapons and collaborate with the big leaders to protect the interests of their own nation or society. In this verse, however, it is clearly stated that despite their so-called advanced knowledge, they are actually have the same mentality as cats and dogs. As cats and dogs and other animals do not know their true interest in life, become increasingly involved in ignorance, the so-called educated person who does not know his own self-interest or the true goal of life becomes increasingly involved in materialism. Therefore, Prahlad Maharaj advises everyone to follow the principles of Varnashram Dharma. Specifically, at a certain point, one must give up family life and take to the renounced order of life to cultivate spiritual knowledge and thus become liberated. This is further discussed in the following verses. Om Agana Timirandasya Gananjana Salakaya Chakshur Militamina Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. We're born in the darkness of ignorance, but our spiritual master is kindly opening our eyes with his torchlight of knowledge. So we offer our respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of such spiritual masters. So Prahlad Maharaj, being an educated and spiritually advanced person, is talking to his friends, the sons of demons, knowing that they're misled by their family members, the leaders of their society, of course, which is one of his father. And he's trying to wake them up and elevate them out of their sleep, their lack of higher knowledge, higher consciousness. So he's explaining the value of life. And here Prabhupada in the purport talks about Sanatana Goswami and his speaking with Lord Chaitanya. And I pulled that up because I remember Prabhupada talking about when Sanatana Goswami and Rupa Goswami, as everyone knows, were ministers in the government of the Nawab Hussain, and the Nawab very much depended on them. They were extremely educated, extremely cultured, and just very knowledgeable in material things. And he forcibly took them into his service, and they did very well for him. But at a certain point in time, they became very attracted to Lord Chaitanya. And he was writing to them and he was telling them, so you be like the woman who is in a relationship with someone besides her husband. You're always thinking of the paramour, but you're actually married. So he was telling them to always be thinking about him, Lord Chaitanya, and his service and Krishna and spiritual things while being engaged in the service of the Nawab. But of course, as we know, that wasn't good enough for them. They wanted to join Lord Chaitanya, and he did help them. But when Sanatana Goswami, he met Lord Chaitanya, he bowed down, he put straw in his teeth, and he approached like a beggar. You know, he took off his fancy clothes, he gave away his gold. They did keep some, which was used later to follow the instructions of Lord Chaitanya. And Rupa Goswami, actually, they had cows. He kept like 500 cows because his instruction when he went to Vrindavan was to take care of the sadhus there. So he actually was given land at that time, and he had like 500 cows. Anyway, but back to the story. So Sanatana Goswami, he's wearing old clothes. He's wearing nothing fancy. He's given up everything, left the palatial place they were staying, and he's living like a beggar. And he puts straw in his mouth, and he bows down. He approaches Lord Chaitanya in great humility. Although this person had been in the highest rungs of society with this Muslim ruler, fine clothes, fine wine, not dining, palatial buildings, servants. And there he is with nothing. And we see, even in Prabhupada's life, he wasn't from a poor family. He was from the Mullik family, and he was a pharmacist. He bought a house. He had a car and a driver. He wasn't poor. And then at a certain point of time, he gave up everything, and he was living. He even says he was living like a beggar. He was not eating really well. He was staying at different temples. You know, he went to the Radha Damodar temple. We know it's an extremely holy place. But when you go there, it's not like a fancy 5-star hotel. It's a simple room with another room across the little hall, the court, not courtyard, but there's another room that was his kitchen. And his bed was like a rope mattress, and he had nothing in there. He went from a nice life to a completely renounced life. And then what did he do? Amazing. He crossed the ocean. Someone who never left India, was living in Vrindavan, was going to the different temples, living right with Rupa Goswami, his samadhi, inspiring him, living at the Radha Damodar temple. The deity was carved by Rupa Goswami and given to, I believe, Jiva Goswami. And there's in the holy place. But what does he do? He's given an instruction by the spiritual master, and he's determined to follow that. He keeps his room, and then he crosses the ocean with absolutely nothing. I wouldn't even go into town without my car full of gas and my credit cards and knowing where I'm going. He crosses the ocean, has some heart attacks. He's 70 years old, and he's got like $7 in rupees, crosses the ocean with a bunch of books that he's translated, doesn't know anyone, and he's in New York City, living like a beggar. Not that Prabhupada was ever a beggar, but his lifestyle was so simple and so dependent on Krishna's mercy. And that's the idea. You become dependent on Krishna's mercy. So here's Sanatana Goswami. He's given up everything. He's approaching Lord Chaitanya with straw in his mouth. And what does he say? I was born in a low family, and my associates are all low-class men. I myself am fallen and am the lowest of men. Indeed, I have passed my whole life fallen in the well of sinful materialism. I do not know what is beneficial for me or what is detrimental. Nonetheless, In ordinary dealings, people consider me a learned scholar, and I'm also thinking of myself as such. Out of your causeless mercy, you've delivered me from the materialistic way of life. Now, by the same causeless mercy, please tell me what my duty is. Who am I? Why do the threefold miseries always give me trouble? If I do not know this, how can I be benefited? Actually, I do not know how to inquire about the goal of life and the process for obtaining it. Be merciful upon me. Please explain all of these truths. Of course, Lord Chaitanya answers them and says, Lord Krishna has bestowed his full mercy on you so that all of these things are known by you. For you, the threefold miseries certainly do not exist. Hold 1 second. I've got something on the stove that smells like it's going to be boiling over. Sorry, I'm multitasking. So it's amazing. I mean, this mode, this detachment, this service attitude. And here in the purport, Prabhupada talks about the Varnashram Dharma. And we see that Prabhupada mentioned that he had established everything but Varnashram Dharma. And then we see different devotees, different leaders have taken up this mission trying to establish this Varnashram Dharma. But it was interesting. I was reading in the Srimad Bhagvatam 128, Prabhupada says that all of the 4 divisions of religion, 4 divisions of religion. It is called Varnashram religion. We have given it the name Hindu. It is not Hindu. Hindu is the name given by Muslim people. The name of the scripture is Varnashram religion. It is not Hindu religion. Varnashram, 4 varnas, 4 ashrams. Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Sudra, and Brahmachari. Grihastha, Vanaprastha, and Sannyas. All of these things have to go in a very organized way. In Kali Yuga, it is also impossible, and there are no proper Brahmins, Kshatriyas, and Vaishyas. That is why God has instructed in the scriptures that never mind if you are Brahmin, a Sudra, a Kshatriya, or whatever you are. Your work is to satisfy God. This is the real duty of Varnashram. So we see Prabhupada talked about establishing Varnashram. And this is for the organization of the society, right? Varnashram is not for especially the caste system that was developed. We see when materialistic people, Hitler was one of them, take the pure Vedas and don't know what they're doing, they concoct a system like Hitler did. He concocted a system from the Vedas. You know, the teachings that he were reading, they were, even the sign he used the swastika, he used a backward Vedic symbol as his symbol. So here's a demon using the teachings of the Lord, basically, and perverting it and making it into a horrible demoniac thing. So when people take the caste system, the natural order of life of the Brahmin, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Sudra, when they misinterpret and misuse it for their materialistic use, then you have a caste system that is abusive. It's an abusive system where it's meant to be a way to organize life according to one's nature. Someone's got a Brahminical nature and is able to carry out that, or Kshatriya nature, or Vaishya nature, or Sudra nature, no matter what family he's born in. But when the materialistic man takes these things, then he makes a system that makes him look better. Oh, I'm a Brahmin. I'm born in a Brahmin family, although he's acting lower than Sudra. Or a Sudra who's actually... I'm sorry, I'm giving a class right now. Okay, if you could call back in an hour or so, I have no time to talk. Thank you. Sorry, turn my phone off here. So Prahlad's trying to teach his demoniac friends that it's not all about materialism. And Prabhupada himself, you know, he started with nothing, very grassroots, dealing with people that had no basic spiritual education, no idea about how to live their life. It was actually perfect. You could see that if he would have started in India with the people that thought they knew the caste system and thought they knew about the Bhagavad Gita, he may not have been able to establish what he actually did. Krishna took him to a place where he had nothing, and the only people he was dealing with were these wild youth of America that were rebelling against the society because of the Vietnam War, and many of them were renounced. They'd given up. You know, when you're living in a society that's so materially together, you know, there's so much material facility, and then you're faced with the fact that you've got to go to war and be killed over their desire to accumulate more, take control more. And then the youth just dropped out. I don't want any part of this. I don't want the 9-to-5 job. I don't want to become part of this society. Literally just dropped out. That was their the motto. What is it? So tune in something and drop out. So all these youth, thousands of youth all over the world, they were just, Radhanath Maharaj is one of them. You know, they dropped out from this society that was going on, and were looking for something higher. And Prabhupada came just at that point. And because he was poor, because he had nothing but knowledge and purity and was magnetic, he attracted so many young people and was able to start with a clean slate with these young people. It's like they tell you when a piano teacher takes on students, if someone already knows piano, they charge more because you have to reteach them how to actually do it right. So Prabhupada had a clean slate with these young people, and they were able to grasp, and he was able to establish a society to start anyway. And then he was talking about Varnashram Dharma, which we'll see how that goes. We hope, you know, it just organizes society. Now, ISKCON is not a handful of young people anymore. It's a huge worldwide organization, a society into itself. So it needs, you know, it needs more. Prabhupada is given that direction already. And Prabhupada in the Madhya Lila, the followers of the Varnashram Institute accept the regulative principles of the 4 social orders, Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Sudra, and 4 spiritual orders, Brahmachari, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, and Sannyas. However, if one carries out the regulative principles of these orders but does not render transcendental service to Krishna, he falls into a hellish condition of material life. This, I'm going to read this, but it kind of shook my base here. Anyone, if he is minus Krishna consciousness, then the result is that swakarma krit, swarava pati maj. By executing his specific duty, he is going to hell. Hell, it is a fact. He's thinking that I am doing my duty, but he's going to hell. So this is a version of Lord Chaitanya. Even if he does his duty very nicely, he is going to hell. So Hindu religion is a modern term given by foreigners. Actually, the Indians, the Bharatnya, their religion is Varnashram Dharma, religion of 4 castes and 4 spiritual orders, 4 spiritual orders and 4 social orders. The persons who follow these social orders, social statuses, and 4 orders of spiritual advancement, they are called Varnashram. So Hindu religion is a miscalculation. Really, they are called Varnashram Dharma. That is a Vedic term. So it was a little strong that Prabhupada would say, if they're following their duty, even if they do it perfectly, they're going to hell. Because you have many people that read the Bhagavad Gita that are under the impression if they just do their duty as a human, take care of their family, basically work, take care of their family, that they are following religion. But here Prabhupada is very firm about it. By executing his specific duty, he is going to hell. And why is that? So we go a little further and we see that the whole thing is geared around worshiping the Lord. If one does his material duty but forgets the Lord, then it's useless. And in the purport that we read, Prabhupada's talking about renouncing all your material duties and just taking sannyas and just giving up everything and becoming Krishna conscious. And a little further in a room conversation, Prabhupada's talking about the 11th canto. And this is Chamasya Muni, one of the 9 sages, came to instruct King Nimi. Addressing the king, he said, the 4 social orders, namely the Brahmins, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Sudras, have come out of the different parts of the universal form of the Lord. The Brahmins come from the heads, the Vaishyas from the arms, the Kshatriyas from the arms, the Vaishyas from the waist, and the Sudras have come from the legs. Similarly, the sannyasis have come out of the head, the vanaprastha from the arms, the grihastas from the waist, and the brahmacharis from the legs. These different orders of social and grades of spiritual advancement are conceived in the terms of qualification. This is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita that the 4 social orders and 4 spiritual orders are created by the Lord himself in terms of different individual qualities. As the different parts of the body have different types of activities, so the social orders and spiritual orders also have different types of activities. If we remember when Vyasadeva wrote the Vedas, there were so many instructions on how to organize society. This is basically what he's doing. How do we live in this world to make it work right and do it good and basically elevate ourselves? But then he was told that he was not satisfied. Then he was told the reason he wasn't satisfied was because he wasn't explaining about Krishna. So the Srimad Bhagvatam came along. The devotees, their different pastimes, their different services, their different ways of associating with Krishna and worshiping Krishna. In the purport, Prabhupada talks about material bondage. Okay, 1 second. I wanted to go on actually to the next verse because I thought it would extend it a little bit. So the translation to the next verse is, my dear friends, O sons of demons, it is certain that no one bereft of knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead has been able to liberate himself from material bondage at any time or in any country. Rather, those bereft of knowledge of the Lord are bound by the material laws. They are factually addicted to sense gratification, and their target is woman. Indeed, they are actually playthings in the hands of attractive women. Victimized by such a conception of life, they become surrounded by children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren, and thus they are shackled to material bondage. Those who are very much addicted to this conception of life are called demons. Therefore, although you are the sons of demons, keep aloof from such persons and take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayan, the origin of all demigods, because the ultimate goal of the devotees of Narayan is liberation from the bondage of material existence. And the purport, Srila Prabhupada, Prahlad Maharaj has maintained the philosophical point of view that one should give up the dark well of family life and go to the forest and take shelter of the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In this verse also he stresses the same point. In the history of human society, no one at any time or place has been liberated because of too much affection and attachment for his family. Even in those who are apparently very educated, the same family attachment is there. They cannot give up the association of their families, and even in old age or invalidity, for they are attached to sense enjoyment. We have several times discussed so-called householders are simply attracted by sexual enjoyment. Thus, they keep themselves shackled in family life, and furthermore, they want their children to be shackled in the same way. Playing the parts of playboys in the hands of women, they glide down to the darkest regions of material existence. Because they are unable to control their senses, they continue a life of chewing the chewed, and therefore descend to the darkest material regions. One should give up the association of such demons and adhere to the association of devotees. Thus one will be able to be liberated from material bondage. So it's heavy, being too much attached and too much involved in family life. Prabhupada said that when he was in family life, his spiritual master would come to him in dreams and tell him to take sannyas. And Prabhupada's comment was, this was horrible to me. So, the fact that we don't see this type of renunciation as something like, wow, this is really what I want to do, give up family life and become a total renunciate and just surrender to Krishna, only keeping his interests is the only thing I do. It's not unusual that we don't see this as being a blissful thing. But at the same time, having that knowledge that family life, that attachment to family, friends, society is not all in all and is not the highest for our spiritual life. That knowledge is important. We see in our society, Prabhupada, he did things in a very thoughtful way. When he met Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj, he took him as his spiritual master. He started following him right away, but he didn't get initiated for 10 years. And although Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj was coming to him in a dream, he didn't leave home and take sannyas until he was 55. And if his wife had been behind him in his mission, who knows if he would have taken that course that he did of taking sannyas. But of course, the idea of becoming totally renounced and doing service even within the family, this is what it seems to me is the direction. But in Prabhupada's case, his wife was not interested in the preaching work at all. And so he didn't feel he had a choice. He had a mission. And even his mission was given to him in his youth. And he didn't fulfill it till he was really near the end of his life. So just by that example, we need to be patient with ourselves, that we are on the right path and we're doing things in the right direction. But, there is an urgency for sure. But, to follow Srila Prabhupada's example, to do things at the right time, is an important thing. So now we see in our society, although Prabhupada set things up in a certain way, I do believe he wanted his disciples and it to be somewhat established that in the later stages of life, one gets very serious and takes sannyas or gets very renounced. Unfortunately, we see in our society a lot of the older devotees, instead of getting renounced, are getting remarried. At 50, 60, it's a little, I don't feel it's right, but anyway, it's what's happening. So we see that it's not so easy. Prabhupada himself, he was trying to set into place an organization and a way of life without which we would be floundering in this materialistic society that has absolutely no restrictions on sense gratification, no direction, simply, if someone stays in the same marriage and maintains their family, it's amazing. This is such a mixed up, degraded society that we're in. It's the whole world. And I can see why certain cultures, for instance, certain Muslim cultures and certain, that the American society is just not have any spiritual direction. And they don't want their children following it. So to be against the materialistic society makes sense, but you have to be against it in a good way, not that you set bombs off on people because they're not doing things the way they should be. You educate them. This was Prabhupada's way. So he took what he had, which was what he even says, what they're fifth-class men, and he made sannyasis for a certain period of time to kickstart the society. Many of them were not able to maintain that lifestyle, and probably mostly because of their bringing up. They weren't brought up in a strong way for renunciation. So to maintain that is not so easy. So Prabhupada did establish the system of sannyas and, gave sannyas to a lot of people. And most of them were not able to continue with their whole life, but some have been. And look at what they've done. Look how the Lord's empowered them to establish more and more spiritual foundations all over our world. Great souls initiating, giving instruction, setting a base of spiritual culture, knowledge, renunciation, guidance, direction. It's wonderful. It's wonderful. And we ourselves have to be very serious. It's not an organization just so we can have fun. Change our fun from material fun to spiritual fun. Although that's there, it's just we have to keep our feet on the ground. And here again, I'm preaching to myself. We have to stay established in the most important parts of our life. Our hearing, our chanting, our direct instructions from our spiritual masters, maintaining things to the basic necessities of life, not endeavoring more and more to get more and more materialism in our life. It's important to keep that knowledge in the forefront so that we can stay grounded in our spiritual advancement and continue making progress back home, back to Godhead. It's easy to get caught up in the materialistic society, family, but not at the expense of losing our spiritual momentum, basically. So we have to individually do the best we can and go forward, follow the teachings of the great souls, and try and implement all of these teachings into our life gradually. I know I was just reading Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and there's one of his, I don't know if it's in the Saranagati, in one of those groups of prayers and songs that he had written, to give up the shackles of Maya slowly. To like Prabhupada says, you give up, to take on, I think it's in the Nectar of Instruction, to take on the things that are conducive to spiritual life and to give up those things that aren't. Now, this is a gradual process, but if we're always mindful in trying to make progress, and we set our goals and try and fulfill at least the basics of what we've been given, take initiation if possible, follow the regulated principles, chant 16 rounds at least, listen to the teachings. There's so many great teachers online now, so many classes from so many great souls on YouTube, and we have a lot of facility. But if Krishna's given us all this facility at the expense of so many devotees, who, including Srila Prabhupada and Bhakti Siddhanta Maharaj. Look at what a sad thing that Bhakti Siddhanta Maharaj is. Some of his disciples just ruined the society he had created. He had created such a beautiful offering to Krishna, such a beautiful base of knowledge and devotion for so many people. And it wasn't continued as he wanted. So we have to be serious that this movement that we have, Lord Chaitanya's movement, and all these great souls from the past, this is their desire, that the world be given direction Otherwise, what they're drowning. They're just drowning in this Kali Yuga, not knowing what way to go, becoming frustrated, not wanting to live. Because what are they faced with? There's no alternative. And the more we can do to share with them, the more we can use our money, our intelligence to create a program. Do a Food for Life program in your area. Do some book distribution, some book table. Do some kind of preaching work. Radhanath Swami, he wasn't always this big guru that's preaching all over the world. He was Radhanath Das, living up at Old Vrindavan for like 10 years in a secluded way, learning. And then when he started preaching, he wasn't like doing big programs all over in TV. And he was Radhanath Swami, just traveling in an old car, doing programs in colleges, some little class here, some little class there, some cooking class. He used to do cooking classes with Tapa Punch Swami in colleges. So set up a vegetarian cooking. And then you introduce a little philosophy. This is what he did. Whatever endeavors we can do to propagate this to other people. We've been given a great gift, and we can share it as much as we can. All right, let's see. I was thinking, Srila Prabhupada gave me an instruction. He said you should be very serious always. But I should actually make a sign for myself and put it in a frame. Because it's easy to get off track, a little or a lot. Spend hours shopping, going to little stores, buying little this, little that. It's like it's easy to get into different things that kind of carry us away. But if you can associate with people that are more advanced and more strongly situated on their path of devotional activities, that gives you a foothold more and helps you keep your feet on the ground. And it's true, renunciation of things like living more simply, not accumulating more than we need. This is all nectar of instruction. These things are important because the more we accumulate, the more we have to maintain. We take time to make the money to buy. We take time to go shopping to buy. We take time maintaining what we've bought, cluttering our space. It's like, okay, you have extra money. What do you do with it? You don't necessarily need the different colored couch or the new paint on the wall or the new iPhone or try and figure out a way to use that extra money for the benefit. In the very beginning of what we read, let me find it. In the translation, about materialism, this is mine and that is for others. Thus, they are always engaged in providing necessities of life to their family in a limited conception of family life. So what does sannyas mean? Sannyas means you become a citizen of the world. You are legally, or you are a dead person. You are not connected to a family and a society. You are connected to everybody. This is the vision of a more advanced person. It's the limited, connected to their family, and a limited conception of family life. So the whole world, everyone is part of our family. The pure devotee loves everyone. I was hearing again Indradumna Swami. One second. My breakfast was gonna burn. Indradumna Swami talking about Sanatana Goswami. Everybody loved him. He was just a friend to everybody. That's why Prabhupada won the hearts of all these young people. He wasn't scheming, oh, maybe I can control these young people. No, he just was himself, and he loved everyone and tried to give everyone spiritual knowledge. Look at, he was sponsored by Sally Agarwal, just a regular meat-eating American woman. He went to her house. She didn't know he was coming. He went to her house. She put him up at the YMCA, of course, because the father-in-law was Indian and the husband was Indian, and the father-in-law wanted Prabhupada to be sponsored. I mean, she did it, I don't want to say begrudgingly, but it wasn't like she was thinking, wow, wouldn't it be great to have an Indian Swami come and be dependent on me? You know, she wasn't like really into it at first. But the more, Prabhupada just won her heart. The other day I was doing tours of the palace, and this young lady, probably about 16 years old, came in a beautiful sari, American girl, with another American older woman. It was Sally Agarwal's son. That picture you see of Prabhupada holding the hands of that little boy. That little boy was Bridge. I believe that's how they pronounced his name. Maybe it stood for something. That was the girl's father. Now here's a girl coming to the palace wearing a sari, interested in Krishna consciousness, because of Prabhupada just being friendly. And he didn't preach to Sally Agarwal. He came, he threw water all over himself in her bathroom, thinking that's how they took the shower. You know, he cooked in her meat kitchen. He cooked for them, and he just won their heart. And that association elevated her. Her service to a pure devotee like that elevated her. So that here down the line, her granddaughter is coming to the temple and wearing a sari and has some interest. We don't know what little service we render, what the effect that it is down the road for so many people. Anyway, we want to open our consciousness to become a citizen of the world, whether we take sannyas as a vow or whether we take sannyas as a change of mind. Like Prabhupada said, a householder that actually is following and engages all of his time and money and abilities in Krishna service is just as much a sannyas as someone who takes the vow of sannyas and leaves their family. So let's end there. I hope that was okay. Anybody there?
Hare Krishna Mataji. Yeah, we are on mute. So thank you so much for this Nectar class as always, and explaining about the Srila Prabhupada's instructions to you personally and Radhanath Swami Maharaj's pastime. So Indradimna Maharaj. So thank you so much, Mataji. And after, if anybody has question, if you would like to elaborate more on the last weekend retreat, the classes of S.P. Keshav Maharaj and Bhuta Bhavan Prabhu will be great, Mataji. Thank you so much, Hare Krishna.
Okay, yes, we had a lot of really wonderful, enthusiastic, young people here. Many of them had been part of the Pandava Sane from the UK, and they would come here sometimes and have retreats. And they were all young people, like teenagers and younger. And this group now is older, and now they have another name for themselves. But they came, I think there was 50 of them. They came and did different seminars. And Keshava Maharaj was very inspiring, young sannyasi, very down to earth and practical. And Bhuta Bhavana Prabhu, I think I've heard one of Keshava Maharaj's class in the past, but he gave a very nice class here. Very good, especially for the young people. We're very good for anyone, but very good for the young people because he's young. And Bhuta Bhavana Prabhu, who I also had never heard of, he gave a very practical class. Anyway, it was a wonderful group. They had First Fridays, we have First Friday kirtans up at the palace usually, like a 24-hour kirtan thing, but just, for a few hours. And we had a First Friday kirtan. It was up at the Yogashal. If you've been here, it's a building that was built for doing yoga. Nice, beautiful building. Just a nice space. And so I went, just because I go to the palace one sometimes. And I was like the only person with gray hair there. And I was one of the first people there because, of course, I was on time. People aren't always on time. So there was all these young people, like probably 100 or 200 young people at least. They came into the room. And this one girl seemed to be kind of organizing it. She sat down at a harmonium, and there was a few young men with the mridanga. And she started reading a prayer. And I'm almost positive she said it was written by Jayapataka Maharaj. And it was about Srila Prabhupada. And she read it in English. And it was very touching. But then she got behind the harmonium and she started singing it. And I was just totally blown away by her, not only her voice, but her devotion. It was just beautifully done. Excuse me, could you guys mute whoever has the sound going on back in the background? Anyway, I was very impressed with the group and the teachers and the manners of these young people. It was very inspiring, actually, very inspiring. That a youth group that is so into Krishna consciousness, but actually so well materially established also. It's very inspiring. When Prabhupada started the group that he dealt with, some of them weren't so materially established, but he himself was, Prabhupada was himself. And this group that was here was very, very well materially established and very well spiritually established. So it's very impressive. Is that good?
Yes. Thank you, Mataji. Thank you so much. Yeah, maybe there were around 230 youth were there for this weekend. And just Mataji.
30?
Yeah,
Really?
yes, Mataji. So, yeah.
Oh, I didn't think there was that many.
Yeah. And Samrani my daughter was in organizing committee, and Mataji, Jayashree Mataji helped a lot for giving ride to the kids from airport to New Vrindavan. So thank you so much, Mataji, for that. And it was so
regularly.
Yes, Mataji. So seeing the lot of energy and next generation in the Krishna consciousness was so inspiring for all of us too.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mataji, for creating this new Vrindavan and keeping
Oh,
these vibes, positive vibes there. Because of all you, the Ambas is there, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
thank you. I definitely didn't create New Vrindavan. I wasn't here in the beginning. I've only been here like 40 years, but I've tried to help. New Vrindavan is a special place.
Yes,
All right,
Mataji.
so it's 8:30.
Anybody has any question or comments? Please go ahead.
Hare Krishna Mataji, thank you very much for a very, very inspiring class. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Thank you for listening and tolerating me. You know, the one thing I don't do is something that I really like. Many people, when they start a class, they thank the audience, they apologize if they make any mistakes, or you know, it's a point of humility that I need to learn how to do. You don't want to get to the point where you think that you really are teaching everybody because you're so advanced. Krishna really can crush you, to say the least, to let you know that you are really not a very important person, not very advanced at all. Krishna is very kind to do that, keep us in our place. So it's true, you don't know who you're speaking to just because you're older or been this life in this movement longer than certain other people. You don't know. You're just maybe the newest, least advanced person to the people you're talking to. So it's always good to apologize for any offenses or anything that you do wrong.
Hare Krishna Bhaktivedanta Pranam. All grace to Sri Prabhupada. It was I joined late, but whatever I heard towards the end, it was so nectarian. Like I were referring to how Sri Prabhupada's presence, even for a short duration, could purify the materialistic mentality of Sally Agarwal, typical American lady. Yeah, and so that she's bringing her granddaughter to your place, the temple.
No, she actually has passed away a few years ago. Granddaughter came on her own. Her granddaughter wanted to come, apparently. It was, I don't know who the lady was she was with. I didn't get that. But yeah, I was surprised and happy.
Yeah, it's that it's said in the Bengali poem, Vaishnava Biggapti, that is Darshane Pavitra Karo Etamada Gun. That is by the Vaishnava, pure Vaishnava, by his mere presence, his or her mere presence purifies the polluted souls. So what to speak of when he speaks or she speaks? That is that by mere association you can, because the humility and the knowledge and of course the Krishna's mercy that flows. Yeah, that Mahaprabhu, even for the Mayavadis who are very, very hardcore impersonalists. I remember that. I read that rather hard. My reading is very poor. Mahaprabhu, when he went to the Prakashanand Saraswati in Varanasi, so
Right.
he was a hardcore impersonalist, but seeing the knowledge and the humility, of course, these two translate into purity. So, and of course, Prakashananda Saraswati was in the mode of goodness, so he could identify that there is this person is definitely beyond the three modes of material nature, and of course carrying that effulgence. So and yet so humble. So he fell with all his disciples, fell at his feet and became devotees. So that is the purity that that pure devotees carry. Of course, Mahaprabhu is beyond that. So just trying to reflect here how pure devotees can, by their mere presence, can purify the fallen souls. So
And that's one of the reasons that Prabhupada wants his books distributed, because he's present in his books. Krishna's present in the teachings. Lord Chaitanya is present in the teachings. And if people keep them in their house, or like Prabhupada said, even if they just touch them, but what to speak of reading them and learning. There's a man that comes here all the time. He's just a Western man from Moundsville or something. He's older. And I was surprised to hear that probably 40 years ago, he met the devotees. I don't know if he lived at the temple somewhere for a short time, but his son has gotten involved here because he just had that little bit of association with devotees. There was one man here, when Prabhupada was staying here, and they were taking a walk. Prabhupada and the ensemble was taking a walk. Either that or they were sitting at the house that's right on McCreary's Ridge. And this young man killed the deer. There was a white deer in the area. And he killed that white deer and tied it to his truck or something and pulled it down the road right in front of where the devotees were. And the devotees had him arrested, actually, because it was killed on their property. I can't remember the details. His name was Billy Aston. And they had him put in jail, actually. And his punishment was that he had to come to the Sunday feast and maybe help with the serve out or wash the dishes or something for like a month or something like that. So this man had a total change of heart just from being around the devotees, and the whole rest of his life. He didn't he didn't start coming to the temple and chanting japa, but he lived down the road for the rest of his life until maybe a few years ago he passed away. But he even wrote, I would invite him when I was in the management, I would invite him sometimes for Janmashtami, our own Janmashtami, not with all these visitors and stuff. And he would sing a song that he wrote all about that time and going to jail and having serve and chanting Hare Krishna. And yeah, he would always chant when he came. Sometimes he'd come for Janmashtami and other, bring somebody. Anyway, we don't know how powerful this movement is and how purifying for the right people. We don't know who the right people are, the right time, or what their karma is to enable them to participate. So we become a citizen of the world and always try and spread Krishna consciousness in whatever way we can.
So he's after his jail term, his social service was to clean dishes?
Yes, to come to the Sunday feast. He had to do some service at the temple for a month or something.
And it was ordered by the jailer?
Yeah, by the judge, probably.
Okay. No, yeah, I mean, I was thinking like, yeah, correct. If it is ordered by the judge, it is okay. But if it is ordered by the Vaishnavas, then I was thinking whether we should be done, because it should be freewheeling. That's what we want. If it is ordered by the judge, then we have no control.
No, it was probably the devotees, I'm sure, must have had their choice whether they wanted him prosecuted or whether they wanted him just to do some community service.
Okay.
They wanted him to do some community service. Why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't they give him a chance to come to the temple and associate with the devotees and really see what it's about? And it totally changed his heart.
Yeah, that is correct. Yeah, because anyway, this person's karma would be, I mean, the killing this person's karma would have been extinguished to some extent by the jail term, and the purification can now begin. Yes, correct.
All right, very good. It's late. All right, thank you so much for allowing me to do some service. I really appreciate it. It's something I like to do, although I'm not good at it. It gives me an opportunity.
No, Mataji, your classes are always inspiring and so informative. Oh, yeah.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Thank you.
Hare
Yes.
Krishna. Thank you, everybody.
So let's
Thank you, Mother Jayashree Mataji. It was very wonderful, nice meeting you and getting your blessings during the TSI retreat
Yes, it was
last
wonderful.
weekend.
Yes.
Thank you
Thank
for your
you.
wonderful association
Daughter.
in the class. Hare Krishna.
Okay. Hare Krishna.
Vancha kalpatarvyascha kripa sindhu eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. अनंत कोटि वैष्णववृंद की जय। नमस्ते श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय।
जय।
श्री प्रभुपाद की जय। ग्रंथ राष्ट्रमद भागवतम की जय। हर गणेश जो श्री माता जी की जय।
जय।
माता जी। हरे कृष्ण।
Devotees, teach them.
Hare Krishna.